Dr. Marshall.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. First of all, I'll start with Mr. Long and say I'm grateful. We have, I guess, 1,300 drivers in my district. Kansas, maybe the second, third most number of highway miles in the country. I represent the largest ag producing district in the country. The one thing that my ag producers can do for sure is get our commodities to market cheaper than any competitors out there, and your industry is a big part of that. So I'm grateful for the business that they do. My first job was loading cattle trucks. I was 15 years of age working at a sale barn and worked with a lot of your members as well. In that industry right now, what are the biggest challenges that they're facing, these small owners, the small companies? Mr. Long, yeah.
I would say one of the biggest challenges is indeed over-regulation, and a lot of it is caused by larger entities kind of forcing their will through the government, whether it be regulatory or legislative, to require more mandates, more safety devices that aren't actually improving safety. There's a laundry list of issues that we're currently fighting to prevent that would simply increase costs for our members and burdens for our members rather than promote highway safety, improve their economics, or improve their efficiency. So this is just another example, we think, of smaller businesses getting lost in the discussion and just allowing a government entity and a large corporation to kind of dictate the discussion and ultimately the outcome when our members are going to bear the largest burden, whether it be cost or potentially even running them out of business.
Maybe you talk about electronic logging devices a second, how they're impacting you, especially the live animal hauling industry.
Sure. Only a fraction of our members are involved in the livestock industry, and we appreciate the relief that they've been getting from Congress or that they will soon be getting from Congress. The ELD issue has been another example of large corporate motor carriers convincing, unfortunately, you and your colleagues, maybe not all of you here at the table today because it did happen back in 2012, that ELDs were a safety device, and our members contend that they certainly are not. They just track their hours. They don't promote safety at all. So that's an example of a $2 billion mandate that has been kind of forced upon our industry by larger corporate motor carriers in an effort to diminish our efficiency and increase our costs.
Okay, thank you. I'll go to Dr. Belzer. Dr. Belzer, I'm a physician, and as I try to review EPA research, I really have a hard time following it. And I would say that if we practice medical research the way the EPA does, we wouldn't be making some of the great advances that I'm seeing. When they did their analysis, an average trucker 100,000 miles a year, about 6 miles to the gallon, and from what I understand, these gliders have about a 25% better gas mileage. Is that accurate? And that's about 4,200 gallons a year of savings of fuel, less fuel being burned, which certainly would mean less pollution. Did they take that into account in their calculations? I couldn't follow that.
Well, I certainly couldn't either because I don't think the analysis is actually there. The regulatory impact analysis does not have that inside it. It has 2 or 3 paragraphs describing these glider provisions, but does not have any analysis. There is the paragraph in the preamble to the final rule that contains the sum total of what EPA has disclosed with regard to its analysis. So I'm afraid that's all we have to go on. Everything else, to me, is just hearsay.
Also wanted to mention we had a new EPA pathway for sorghum oil to be turned into biodiesel. Would that have any impact on an EPA analysis of this situation if it was coming from sorghum oil rather than the traditional fuels?
Yeah, I have no information or expertise on that, and I keep out of things in which I don't have expertise. I do recall, though, that the comparison, the apparent comparison for gliders is based on the emission standards as of roughly 2001. There's a very large EPA rule mandating ultra-low sulfur diesel that was promulgated after those engines were made. So I would like to know whether the EPA estimate takes account of the emission reductions from the ultra-low sulfur fuel rule, which had substantial benefits according to EPA when they regulated it. That would be useful to know what the actual emissions are and to compare them. with the fuel that is actually in use.
Thank you, Dr. Belzer. I yield back.